high risk, high reward. Kind of the Trump kind of mantra, I think, at this point when it comes to the lawyers that I call the enablers. If you followed me for a while, you know that I like to talk about how horrific the lawyers that represent Donald Trump are. The fact that they're willing to put aside their ethics, their professional code of responsibility, and frankly, just their standard moral compass to be able to represent somebody like convicted felon Donald Trump, not only in his criminal cases, but his civil cases, just goes to show the quality or lack thereof for these people. And again, I'm going to emphasize, I call them the enablers. Why? Because if Donald Trump didn't have these lawyers that would be willing to put all of their principles aside to be able to represent somebody like that, then frankly, I think he'd be really struggling in the judicial system more so than he already is. Let me be very clear. But what I want to talk about right now is the fact that Donald Trump has decided to reward, remember, high risk, high reward, Emil Boie. BOVE, B-O-V-E. I call him Boie, Emil Boie. And if you recognize his name, it's because he and Todd Blanche represented Donald Trump in a few of Trump's criminal cases. Notably, he was a part of the criminal defense team when Donald Trump lost a jury trial that was prosecuted by the Manhattan DA's office, and Trump was convicted for 34 felonies of falsification of business records. So Boie and Todd Blanche both getting excoriated, Blanche more than Boie, by the judge in that case, Juan Merchan. But yeah, that loss, the only criminal case to proceed to a jury trial to verdict for Donald Trump, and a loss of 34 felony convictions. And folks, if you are on social media and you see some claims that those convictions have been overturned on appeal, it is bullshit. They have not been overturned on appeal. I have no idea. Strike that. I have absolutely every idea where that comes from. That comes from stupid MAGA far-right people that don't know how to read and don't know the law. But let's focus on Emil Boie. Why? At age 44, he is a former criminal defense attorney. He also is a former federal prosecutor for the Southern District of New York. His current title is Principal Associate Deputy Attorney General. Fancy title for a guy who's basically a lackey to Todd Blanche, who's the deputy AG, the attorney general being Pam Bondi. So you've got the top lackey of Pam Bondi, then you've got the intermediate lackey of Todd Blanche, and then you have the low-level lackey, which is Emil Boie. But Boie has been really flexing his power since he came to the DOJ after Trump was elected back into office. How do we know that? Well, because Boie did not require a Senate confirmation to have his position, he went into the DOJ and immediately started wreaking havoc. So what are some of the things that he has notched on his belt as really shitty moves when he's been at the DOJ? One is he did a memo that basically threatened to prosecute state and local officials if they did not comply with immigration enforcement efforts from the Trump administration. So let's stop there for a second. He threatened local and state officials with prosecution, investigation and prosecution if they did not participate and they did not cooperate with Trump immigration enforcement initiatives. He also made it clear that senior FBI and DOJ officials that worked at the FBI on investigations into the January 6th insurrection. He not only fired at least 8 senior FBI officials, but he also did a thorough and still is doing a thorough examination of the work of those that investigated the January 6th, 2021 insurrection at our U.S. Capitol. Why? To be vindictive, because there's really no other reason to do it. And another amazing accomplishment on Bovie's watch is the following. Do you remember Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, and his prosecution by the Department of Justice, Southern District of New York? Well, remember how he sent the memo to pressure the acting U.S. attorney, Danielle Sassoon, to tell her that she needed to dismiss that case. And she refused. She resigned. And she let Pam Bondi, she let Emil Boie know that she was not going to cow to the demands of the Trump DOJ to dismiss this case, this corruption case against Eric Adams, because she knew that the case had been brought in good faith and could be prosecuted because there was evidence that would substantiate, corroborate the allegations of corruption and fraud by Eric Adams. So she resigns. 5 prosecutors in the Criminal Division of Public Integrity Unit also resigned. And then there was the very famous resignation, I'm pulling it up, resignation letter by Hagen Scottton, who was also an assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York on that case, the Eric Adams case. And if you will recall, he said the following as he resigned. This is his resignation letter to Emil Boie. He said, quote, "But any assistant U.S. attorney would know that our laws and traditions do not allow using the prosecutorial power to influence other citizens, much less elected officials, in this way. If no lawyer within earshot of the president is willing to give him that advice, then I expect you will eventually find someone who is enough of a fool or enough of a coward to file your motion. But it was never going to be me." I mean, mad props to Hagen Scottton for that. But the reason why we celebrate the pushback and the standing upon principle, why people like Danielle Sassoon and Hagen Scottton and others that have resigned instead of submitting to what Boie wants them to do, is because it is a rarity in the Trump DOJ to see that happen. But it is also a tragedy that we are losing competent, qualified, amazing, principled prosecutors because of undue and ridiculous pressure by people like Blanche and Boie for them to do the wrong thing. According to the New York Times' article on this, Bovie's longtime goal has been to serve as a federal judge. So I guess he's going to be in getting what he wanted, right? What did we say at the beginning? High risk, high reward. The high risk being you risk everything, including maybe going to jail, losing your bar license, a la Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani, when you represent Donald Trump. But the reward? You get a federal judgeship. And that's a lifetime appointment, people. Federal judges are lifetime judges, even district court judges, right? But in this instance, he's being nominated by Trump, ready, to be a federal appeals court judge. It's not even he's going to be a trial court judge. Trump is nominating him to be a Third Circuit Court of Appeals judge. Dude's never been a judge, doesn't do appellate work, but here, let's do that. Donald Trump put in his Truth Social, post about it. Emil is smart, tough, and respected by everyone. He will end the weaponization of justice, restore the rule of law, and do anything else that is necessary to make America great again. Emil Boie will never let you down. Bruh. Donald Trump always has to freaking let the reality of his intentions shine through, right? He's so stupid that he doesn't even know how to hide it with discretion. I'm going to read it again to you guys. Boie, quote, will do anything else that is necessary to make America great again. Emil Boie will never let you down. Anything else that is necessary? How about just following the law? How about following the law and making sure that the norms and institutions are not destroyed? Do you know how terrifying it is to put a federal appeals court judge, to have somebody like Boie be a federal appeals court judge? Okay, now what's happening is this, because listen, they're getting ready for the Senate confirmation process, because to be a federal appeals court judge, you have to go through the Senate confirmation process. So here we go. In a letter dated May 29th, 2025, today, Pam Bondi, Attorney General of the United States, sent this letter to William R. Bay, the president of the American Bar Association, within which she says that the Office of Legal Policy will no longer direct nominees to provide waivers allowing the ABA access to non-public information, including their bar records. Nominees will also not respond to questionnaires prepared by the ABA and will not sit for interviews with the ABA. What does that mean? For decades, the American Bar Association has had the opportunity to sit with judicial nominees to evaluate their ability and their fitness to sit on the bench. And what they do is this: if you go, and I invite you to go to the ABA website, it's the Standing Committee on the Federal Judiciary. And this is the explanation on the website of what that committee does. The Standing Committee provides the Senate Judiciary Committee, the administration, and the public with its independent, nonpartisan peer evaluation of the professional qualifications of every judicial nominee to the Article 3 and Article 4 federal courts. And they basically say they are well qualified, qualified, or not qualified. And trust me, during the Trump administrations, both of them, we've had plenty of not qualified nominees that have been confirmed to the bench. over Democrats' objections. So Pam Bondi now, because she knows the Emil Boie fight is about to ensue in the United States Senate, sends this letter to the ABA, accusing the ABA of being a bias entity in its ratings process, and that it no longer functions as a, quote, fair arbiter of nominees' qualifications. So putting aside how bitchy Pam Bondi sounds in this letter, what they're trying to do is they're trying to say that a group of people that are the best suited to determine the qualifications and the fitness of a nominee to the bench, Pam Bondi saying we're not even going to let you have access, because there was a long-standing policy. The Office of Legal Counsel, what they did was this. The Office of Legal Policy would allow, records that otherwise would not be given to the ABA of these judicial nominees. The Office of Legal Policy would allow waivers to be signed by judicial nominees so that they could, turn over this information to the ABA to be evaluated. Well, now Bondi's saying, no, not happening anymore. People, voting matters. I say this all the time. I say it because if you don't get... Or if you do get somebody like Donald Trump in the Oval Office, he's going to have the opportunity to appoint people like Emil Boie. Now, listen, we're here for the fight. So listen, pay attention. When the Senate confirmation hearing's coming around, I will remind you when it's coming around, but let your senators know how you feel about the nomination of Emil Boie. I will keep on digging and giving you more information. But be mad, be outraged, demand accountability, because we cannot let people that are lackeys and yes men and the do bitches, we can't let them be on the bench. That's no judge, ever. Katie Phang here. The truth matters now more than ever. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. Thanks for watching.